Today, we're going to be talking about 5 things you can do to add more depth to your tooling. That's coming up. Hello everyone, my name is Daniel Reitz. This is Weaver Leather Supply. Today, we're going to be talking about how you can add more depth to your tooling projects. Now, this is something I see a lot of people struggling with, and to be honest, if you don't know what to do, it's not overly intuitive. So we're going to be talking about that today, and we're going to be using this pattern right here with grapes and grape leaves to show you the different aspects, the different things you can do to really make that design pop off your leather. So the very first thing that I'm going to recommend to you that you incorporate into your projects is a tooling window. Now, a tooling window is simply the frame that we cut in around the focal point of the project. And what this does for us, it gives us a very specific area to work within. Now, it does a couple other things that we're going to talk about a little later in the video, but the big thing is it's going to frame the area that we're going to be working in. Now, how do we actually put it in? Now, we've done a video on how to do this, so we'll put a link in the description so you can jump straight to it. But essentially what we're going to do is we're going to take our wing dividers. I like to set them to roughly 1/4 of an inch. It's up to you how much of a border you want. Then we're going to scribe in a line with our wing dividers. We're going to use our swivel knife to cut it in, and then we're going to use our steep bevel to go around and bevel in and really define that tooling window. And what this is going to do for us, again, is it's really going to define the area that we're working in and really pull our eye to the focal point of the project. So number 2 is going to be well-defined edges. And in my opinion, this is the most impactful thing that you can do on your leather project to really ramp up the dimension that you're creating within the project. So how do we do that? Well, number 1, we want nice deep cuts with our swivel knife. Now, what's the definition of a nice deep cut? Well, you're going to take your swivel knife and you're going to cut roughly 1/3 of the way through the leather. Now, why do we want to do that? Well, essentially, you can only bevel as deep as you cut. So if you have a shallow cut, you're going to get a shallow bevel, which means the design is going to kind of melt into that background. To avoid that, we want to make sure we've got that nice deep cut 1/3 of the way into it. Then we can go in with our steep bevel. A steep bevel is going to create a really crisp edge along the design, and it's going to push that leather back and away from our focal point. And by doing those two things together, a nice deep cut and using our steep bevel, now we're able to get that definition between the focal point and the background. So number 3 is going to be pedal lifters. And a pedal lifter essentially undercuts the leather. So if you've got your grape leaf, we're going to drive that pedal lifter down and under that leaf, and that's going to create a pocket right there, which creates the illusion of dimension and depth. Now, there's all kinds of different pedal lifters out there that you can use. 3 of my favorite come from Weaver, and the reason they're my favorite is because of the design. A lot of the more expensive ones out there, think of it like a foot, okay? So a lot of them are flat on the bottom. So that means when you hit them, you get the toe that digs under, but you also get the heel that leaves a heel print into the leather as you strike it. Well, the ones from Weaver are like standing on your tiptoes. They hit and they dig in, but the heel of it never actually touches the leather, which means you don't get that heel strike on the back of the pedal lifter. And that is so much better than actually having to go back and cover up that heel strike with the backgrounder or something like that. It just saves you a lot of time and it's a better result. So number 4 is going to be compression and texture. Compression is pretty straightforward. To lift the design, we need to compress the background. And to do that, we're going to be using a matting tool. There's all kinds of different ones out there on the market, but the big thing is you want it to be able to compress the leather and push it back and away from the main design. That's going to, once again, give us that lift and that look of dimension that we're going for. Now, like I said, there's a lot of different matting tools out there you can go for. Some of them have a very heavy, coarse texture. Some of them have a very fine, very subtle texture, like a checker pattern that really doesn't catch your eye. My suggestion, unless there's a reason to go for that heavier texture, go with a super light texture. And the reason we want to do that, these grapes and the background are a great example. Grapes have a very slick, smooth surface, a very slick, smooth texture to them. Well, if we put a textured background behind them, well, our eye is automatically going to separate the two, which again is going to give us the dimension that we're looking for. Number 5 is going to be contouring. Now, contouring might not make sense right at the beginning, but think of it this way. If these grapes weren't contoured on the edge, meaning rounded off and shaped, well, essentially what you have is just a bunch of disc in a cluster. But if we go in and we take our modeling spoon and we round off those edges and give it some very subtle contouring to those discs, well, now they start to look a little bit more like a sphere. Well, that's what a grape is. So we have to go in and we have to shape these discs to give the illusion of them being spherical versus just flat disc on the leather. The other thing that we want to pay attention to, and most of us do this without thinking, are the leaves. We want to go in here and create some contours and some rolls to those leaves so that they don't look like they're just flat stickers stuck on the leather. So I'm gonna throw in one more just kind of as a bonus tip, and that's gonna be 3D embossing. This is one of the coolest effects that you can learn, and it can really have some phenomenal results once you get some practice at it. This is a piece right here that I did called the Murder Kitty. It was featured on the front of the Leather Crafters Journal, and as you can see, I went in and I embossed the face, the snout, the brows, some of the body, just to give it more dimension, and it really turned out amazing. I love how that project turned out. Now, you don't have to go that far with it. Like in the project that we're working on today, some pretty minimal embossing can get you some really good results, which is what we're going to be doing here. We're going to go in and we're going to emboss each individual grape one at a time. And that's going to give us the illusion of that spherical look and that cluster of grapes that we're looking for. Well, that's going to do it for this video. I will see you in the next one. In the meantime, go make something amazing.